Welcome, welcome, welcome to tonight's discussion. We are so happy to have you join us. I am your host, Joyce Jose, and tonight, at least tonight here in the central time of the time zone, we are going to be discussing fibroids. Yes, uterine fibroids. As some of you may know, some of you may not know, July is actually Fibroids Awareness Month. And that's to raise awareness for uterine fibroids, which are non-cancerous growths of the uterus. As always, we would love to hear from you. Where are you tuning in? Where are you watching this from? And share this to the women in your life, the men in your life. We want to raise awareness about uterine fibroids. And to help us raise awareness, to help us form an action plan about how to attack fibroids in holistic ways, we have a panel of heavy hitters. I am so excited to have them join this conversation. First off, we have Coach Jessie, and she is the founder of the detoxnow.com. She's an author, a nutritionist, and health coach, and she is a fibroid survivor. Next, we have Dr. Amun. He is also a partner in the detoxnow.com. He is the founder of Dr. Amun Herbal Supplements, and he's an author as well. Last but certainly not least, we have Dr. Claire Babineau, and she leads Wellness MD, and she's a specialist in the functional medicine and gynecology space. So thank you all for joining this discussion. We see those who are joining from Augusta. Bettina, thank you for joining. Panelists, esteemed panelists, so happy to have you in this discussion to help raise awareness and help us talk about solutions and different outcomes for our people. First,
thank you, Joyce.
Thank you for having us, Joyce. I love the intro.
Thank you all. So, Dr. Babineau,
yes.
I'm coming to you first. Can you tell us what some of the unique challenges that Black women specifically face when it comes to fibroids and what we are calling holistic healing?
Of course. Well, thank you for having me. Now, when I saw this question, the first thing that came to mind is the biggest challenges that I see as a gynecologist and a physician is that women don't know how to even ask about any alternatives. If you don't know, you can't ask. If you don't have the knowledge, again, you can't ask. So that's the number one reason, I would say. Number two, I would say, is I think it begins way early on, is that women aren't really educated about their bodies, and they're definitely not educated about the menstrual cycle. And one thing, I'll say one thing Coach Jessie said that it was so appropriate. She said the menstrual cycle is, your fifth vital sign, and it's true. So as gynecologists, we ask about the menstrual cycle, but not necessarily in detail enough. We ask, are you having a cycle? Yes or no, but that may be the beginning and the end of that question. We're not asking how often your cycle comes, how are you bleeding, what does your blood look like, is there any pain associated with it? There are many more things, many more in-depth questioning that could be asked and dealt with. So those are the top two things. Women don't know to ask because they don't know anything else is available. And then we don't have the basic knowledge about the menstrual cycle to even, dig further. I mean, you can go on and on about there may not be enough healthcare providers doing holistic practices. That's a whole different thing. But again, knowledge is the first thing, I would say.
Right, in expression, we're talking about uniqueness to Black women, and Black women are already characterized as difficult. So you could even be in a doctor's office and not want to take up too much space or take up their time. So we may not even express the things that we're experiencing because we're fighting all these other stigmas and racist views of ourselves as Black women. Dr. Amun, I want to go to you. So how does the cultural and social context impact the experience of Black women with fibroids and their approach to holistic healing? And can you talk briefly about what holistic healing means, what it looks like in the context of your work in the Detox Now?
Oh, thank you for having me. But I think the problem that we'll face is the systemic racism in this country. Okay, what we look at when we are addressing Black and brown women are the accessibility to food resources. So we've got things like food deserts where we have lack of real food. And then just to piggyback off what the doctor said previously, there is no actual time taken up to address your symptoms. You don't get time to explain. It's, you know, you're in front of a gynecologist and it's like in and out. There's no time. There's no real dedication or concentration, especially towards Black women and people of color. There's just a racism in the medical field, and that's just really blatant, and it's been going on for years. So I think when we start addressing some of these things from our resources of food, education, and most of all, we have to push for Black women not to be ignored. When you're in pain and you're feeling these symptoms, you've got to put the point across to your OBGYN. I'm in pain and I don't want to be ignored. I want to be heard. So I think that's one of the first steps we have to take. You've got to put and be heard when you go to face or you're in front of your gynecologist, physician, etc.
Yeah, that's powerful. Normalize advocating for yourself. You're not taking up too much space and you're not complaining. You're telling the truth. And we want to normalize that. I appreciate that. Coach Jessie, are there specific holistic healing practices that have shown any promising results in the treatment of fibroids among Black women? And I would love it if you can just kind of demystify holistic healing for us, because people think of a lot of different things when they hear that term. So as we're talking about these practices, how do we demystify holistic healing?
I love that, Joyce. So holistic healing really it deals with the total person, right? So holistic doesn't mean that I'm off somewhere with a beanie, you know, and a herb. It means that I'm addressing the total being. And that means, to me, it's an integrative approach, really. So it's spirit, soul, body, but it also means that I may need to introduce intervention, traditional medicine, as well as some natural options. Okay, so let's first of all debunk that myth that holistic means that you don't go to see doctors, that you don't deal with traditional intervention at all. Let's totally stigmatize that perspective, and let's embrace the perspective that holistic means, no, we're dealing with what medically needs to be considered, the diagnostic tools, as well as what I can do is I can control what I eat, I can control what I take, the things that I have control with in terms of stress management. So, and specifically, you asked about holistic healing practices. Well, we have seen at the Detox Now and the success in terms of being able to support a number of women with helping their bodies reverse fibroids, helping their bodies to reclaim what we call the happy period. It has been everything from dealing with, when we said spirit, soul, body, coaching to help them create a lifestyle of healing support, right? Support and accountability. And then nutrition, teaching them how to use food as their medicine, using food as their first line of defense, foods that heal, right? And using that as a practice, as well as herbal supplements that provide the gap in the nutrients and the minerals that are needed to help their bodies accelerate, as well as optimize the function of the organs and the tissues and the cells that are necessary to help their bodies heal, because the body knows how to heal itself. And then there's daily practices, including exercises like medical qigong and weaving in daily practices of proper sleep, right? Of proper sunlight therapy and making sure that they have the proper vitamin D therapy. So when we looked at creating our fibroids program, we looked at, first of all, root cause approach, right? Using those disciplines, what we call lifestyle practices, lifestyle medicine, some people call it, to attack the root causes versus the symptom. The fibroids we see as the symptom. Yes, they create quality of life issue, right? But the actual root cause, when we break them down in our book, End Fibroids Manual and Guide, you can see, we can't go into detail here because we have limited time, but we break down some of the key root factors. I'm sorry, there's noise in the background, so I just want to make sure whoever needs to mute. Estrogen dominance is one of the key root factors. That's a hormonal imbalance. that can lead to the development of fibroids. There's endocrine disruptors. That's a really big buzzword for hormonal disruptors these days. There's been a lot of news around relaxers and products that disrupt our hormones. In fact, EWG did a major study. The Environmental Work Group did a study that showed 76% of the products that are marketed to Black women actually have harmful ingredients that that are linked to cancer, as well as hormone disruption, okay, and reproductive damage. So now look at that. When we look at tackling it from the root cause issue, we tackle the estrogen dominance, the endocrine disruptors, as well as vitamin D deficiency. There's a lot of studies and some breakthrough research that has come out around the how there's a direct correlation between vitamin D deficiency and the occurrence of fibroids. And there's also research tying it to vitamin D therapy being used to help actually shrink fibroids. So we understand that when we tackle using that, inflammation being another root. So when we tackle the root causes using daily practices like stress reduction, as well as the herbal supplements that help the body to reverse these issues, we've seen amazing testimonies. We were on Angela Yee's show recently, and one of our clients, she shares her testimony openly, eliminated a 10-centimeter fibroid using this protocol in 6 months. That is the MRI documented. So it wasn't something like maybe it happened. It was MRI documented before and after. And there have been a number of other testimonies. So we've seen these disciplines work towards tackling it from a root cause. And that is literally the foundation of our fibroids program.
This is what I love about what I've learned about the detoxnow.com. Root cause approach is really, really powerful. And it goes against a lot of Western medicine, where you go to the doctor and they treat a symptom. And then often it's too late to treat the root because we spent so much time putting a Band-Aid on cancer, is kind of how I colloquially say it. So root cause approach is really, really powerful. And I really appreciate that as the center of the work that you do. So thank you for that. But I also love food as medicine. Y'all, our bodies were designed to keep us alive. Our bodies were made to heal us. So let's get into food as medicine. Dr. Amun, what role does diet and nutrition play in the holistic healing of fibroids? And are there any specific dietary recommendations for Black women? I was literally just talking about this with a coworker some hours ago. And can diet be linked to fibroids? Let's unpack that.
Excellent question, Joyce. And absolutely, 90% of our health challenges or battles that we face is caused because of our dietary, our lifestyle, wrong eating, overeating, eating too late, not eating the correct food, etc. So here at the Detox Now, when we designed our recipe guide, which has over 30 delicious, delightful recipes, we took time to make sure that these foods were addressing things like hormone imbalance, estrogen dominance, insulin resistance, so making you from insulin resistance to insulin sensitive, okay? Also addressing acute and chronic inflammation in the body. Using cruciferous vegetables, right? Also using natural spices and preparation, serving and portions. That's what you find in the End Fibroid Recipe Guidebook. We took time, research, and study because, like we said, food is our medicine. But we also have to understand is what your body can work with. So along our experience, we have found that there'll be people eating the right foods, but still not getting the right results. So we had to backtrack and say, okay, let's open up another page and see what's going on. And that's what I love what we do here with the Detox Now. You said it, we go to the root. So we have to find that there's a mechanical and there's a physical and chemical process of how your body absorbs and digests the food. So that's what we break down within our End Fibroid kit. So food is very important, and the End Fibroid Recipe Guide is part of the kit. And women have joined the program, changed their diets, and it doesn't necessarily mean you have to be a vegan or plant-based. We find out what works for you. Obviously, things like processed food, red meat, especially when you're dealing with uterine fibroids, is a no. junk, barbecue, fast food, refined sugars, refined flour, refined rice, all of those things are eliminated. Anything that will cause inflammation or inflammatory environment within the body, we eliminate that. Dairy, gluten, etc., all gone. So we're dealing with real whole food, and not just that, but also how you prepare it. So I think the women will love this. And the feedback that we've been getting, Joyce, is just been phenomenal. They love it. The recipes, the food, we really put a lot of research in, because sometimes when people think if it's plant-based or vegan, you're limited to resources. No, we give you variety. And like they say, variety is the spice of life, and you have it.
If there's one thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna trust a person of color, a Black person with food.
And
that's what I'm going to do. So if I see the panel represented in the way that I do, I'm going to trust it. And as we go to healthcare disparities, I want to pause and say, Lee Swan, thank you so much for sharing your testimony. We celebrate your miracle baby. We are so excited about that. And your testimony is very real. You tuned into the right show. Stay plugged into this panel for more answers, and plug into the rest of our series as we have other panels upcoming about this exact issue. But I wanted to say thank you for sharing. That is how we get the awareness out there, and that is how we overcome. So thank you, Lee. We see you. Coach Jessie, let's talk about addressing disparities. How do we address disparities in access to holistic healing modalities for Black women with fibroids specifically, especially when we're considering factors such as affordability and cultural competence in the medical practice? How do we address this?
Well, part of the issue for me is that, this was founded, for the Detox Now at least, it was founded first because of my own personal story, right? So we understand I'm a patient first. I'm on this healing journey with you first. And that is exactly what frames our thinking and our approach of people over profits. So this drives our inclusion and provision of things like free weekly group consults twice a week. We offer free group consultations so that if you don't know what you need and you want to review your case, or you are on the program and you're looking for some direction, you need some guidance, we have a free support group in our app, in our Detox Living app, where we have in-app coaching. You can pose your questions in the forum and then get your questions answered. Part of our free options is Dr. Amun offers 10-minute free consultations that are available for people who need some insight and some direction. And then, of course, we try to make sure that there are staggered levels of options, so that wherever you are, everything from our free food list, right, to major, of course, different levels of options, so that wherever you are, you have something you can do, you can start. And that's important because of the disparity when it comes to affordability, right? Mm-hmm. And then in terms of access to information, we share information. You're looking for the right, we have physician partners. I just did an IG live last week. Please catch the replay. It was phenomenal on my IG, Coach Gessie, with a doctor named Dr. P. He's known as the Fibroid Slayer. And we went into how there's so many disparities of the kind of surgeries that are made available to Black women, and how for us it's about creating knowledge sharing and making sure you have access to know, wait a minute, you don't have to have, if you choose to have surgery, if you choose to incorporate surgery into your regimen, there are better options available. And then if you do choose to have surgery, we want to make sure you're prepared and equipped to prevent the fibroids from returning. So we have a kit specifically to support you with that, to help your body to prevent the radical growth of scar tissue that can cause complications in the future. So for us, it's about wraparound of support services that allow to bridge that gap in the disparities and the inequities.
I love what you said about resource sharing and knowledge. Knowledge is power. And that's another thing about the Detox Now is information is readily available for you. You have a built-in community that is invested in you. And a lot of communities around us that are thriving is because they resource share. So let's learn to do that amongst ourselves and amongst our people, because we deserve it. We also deserve it. Dr. Babineau, I want to go to you and talk about traditional or cultural healing practices within the Black community that have been effective in addressing fibroids? Are there any? And how can these traditional practices be integrated with Western medicine approaches? Because as Coach Jesse said, we're not doing away with Western medicine. We're looking at the person as a whole and seeing what cultural and traditional practices we can integrate. So what does that look like? And have they been effective in addressing fibroids?
Well, let me say, first of all, that fibroids in general in our society has really been normalized. We've come to accept it as Black women. For example, my mother had fibroids, my grandmother, and my aunt, so it's normal. We accept that we have heavy periods, we have cramp and pain. So I think traditionally, the best way is to focus on food. And you talked about how food is medicine, but that's where we have to start with fibroids as well. We have to we have to learn about eating real food that comes from the earth, number one. We have to get back in our society. We have a very industrial, westernized society. We have to get back to some of the basics. Cooking real food. It sounds very simple, but that's the start. So in terms of tradition, I would say it starts with cooking, with using real food as medicine.
And I know that
I think
people may
also
be having issues with the audio. Thank you, Dr. Daphne, but I wanted to just recap some of what you're saying. Food that comes from the earth, not the processed neon green, neon yellow. It's not to demonize these things, but it's to make us aware. Cooking practices. In a lot of our African cultures, we cook every meal. We can do that in this country as well. And
yes.
Dr. Abdul, do you want to add to any more of that while we're sorting some of the sound disturbance?
Well, Joyce, if I could just piggyback a little bit on it while we're having that audio issue. I think when we look at cultural traditions of the Sunday dinner, right, and home cooked meals, I would love to see us bring back the Sunday dinner where we had leftovers, but make it healthy, right? Make it so that we're making a healthy meal an actual new tradition. So bring back the Sunday dinner where we had leftovers, but let's bring it with real foods, right? Let's make it so that we have leftovers of real foods that we're using. And whether it's plant-based or not, the key is, and this is why we make sure to provide information. And please follow us in August. We're going through a whole detox living series on our socials about if you're going to do chicken, how should it be? If you're going to do this, how should it be? Because it's really important that you are equipped with the information to make the best decisions for you and where you are on your journey, right? Like Dr. Amun had said earlier about eliminating certain things. It's where you are on your journey, okay? So like if you're in a place, what we've learned, Joyce, is when somebody is in a radical, crazy state, they're like, take my arms, take my legs, whatever I need. And we've had women who they have been radical in their changes and they've had a phenomenal. I mean, we had one woman who eliminated 50 fibroids on our program in 6 months, 50, but she went radical, you know what I mean? But she was in a very bad state. But then there are people who they may be like, yeah, I'm going to take my time. Wherever you are, our thing is to support you and equip you with the information and the resources so that you can take control of your health where you are.
I love that. It sounds customized. And it sounds like for me, who has a hard time giving up meat, I feel safe and like I wouldn't be judged if I came to you to work on a strategy because it's not one size fits all. And that's the most effective results. Dr. Amun, did you want to add something?
Well, no, I think Jesse actually covered it. I was going to say, just basically to piggyback that, the month of August is going to be where we really break this whole thing down and, dive in real deep. And we just want to let people know that it is not as expensive as you think to be healthy. And to
Your hacks.
It's not that expensive.
I appreciate that. It's accessible. If we make it accessible.
We make it very affordable.
And we are continuing to take audiences' questions as we weave them into our own questions. Bettina, thank you for joining the conversation. I see a question that I do want to address in our time. Is getting a hysterectomy the only option to permanently getting rid of fibroids?
Can I address that?
Yes, ma'am.
Number one, getting a hysterectomy is not a solution that is never the right solution. Because if it's the thing that's required to save your life, there are women who are bleeding out, and literally it is the thing that will save their lives, right? So let's put that on the table first. However, if many women are being told that they need a hysterectomy right away, and it's not. It's just because it may be the only thing that your doctor feels comfortable doing, and you may need a second opinion. And if that's what you're being told, get a second, get a third, get a fourth opinion until you know that really it is really what is necessary for your case. With regards to getting rid of fibroids, guess what? The fibroids may be gone because, yes, the fibroids may be gone with a hysterectomy, but the root cause is still there, Joyce, right? So if you have a hysterectomy, but you never tackle that root cause, you may see it reflect with thyroid issues or cancer development or other issues that are driven by that estrogen dominance or whatever the root cause may be present in you. If it's vitamin D deficiency, you may develop hyperparathyroidism, right? If it's connected to inflammation, you may deal with autoimmune disorders or other issues. So what we're saying to you is, let's take a non-band-aid approach. Let's take an approach of looking at the root issue. However, if a hysterectomy is needed to save your life, please, we can't help you unless you're alive. Let's just make sure that you've had the second, third opinions that you need. Ensure that it's really the only case.
Perfect.
And we'll help you make sure, like we have doctors who do we have physician partners who will do an assessment and let you know, who will take the hardest of cases and will let you know if this is serious enough that a hysterectomy is needed.
Right, but the discussion should be verified and backed up by multiple opinions, and you should never hear that it is the only option for permanent removal. And that's why I love Coach Jessie's response, is that it could be sometimes an option, but never the only. And if someone's telling you it's the only, we really urge you to seek a second, third, fourth opinion. And we urge you to stay tuned because we have 2 more panels, folks, that are going to address exactly this. But this is exactly why we have this conversation in these spaces, right? Coach Jessie, I want to talk about strategies that can be employed to raise awareness just like this and educate Black women about holistic healing options for fibroids. What's out there? What can you help with?
So, I'm very excited because one of the things that we launched is our End Fibroids Boot Camp. Okay. And this is a boot camp where we are giving away, and I hope it can be put on the screen, but we are giving away 1 winner already was announced at the White Dress Project's Empowerment Experience last week, but we're giving away 4 more gold programs. That is a 3-month program of our fully loaded fibroids program with coaching, with nutrition planning, with the herbal supplements needed for that, as well as all of the toolkits, the video stream of our Qigong program. And go to the detoxnow.com/bootcamp because we are looking to help you leverage what we call science-backed. These are science-backed strategies that include the coaching, the nutrition planning, the herbal supplements, to turn around and now help your body, because your body does the work, and equip you and support you on that process. And we're going to be announcing 4 more winners. We'll be starting in September. Dr. Babineau is going to be the quarterback overseeing the GYN, overseeing your care in terms of coordinating with making sure you are doing everything you need to with your GYN. Dr. Amun and I are going to be doing the sessions with you, as well as the consultations and overseeing the program. And then we have the Black Women's Health Imperative, which is a phenomenal nonprofit organization focused on Black women's health, that's actually going to be doing the reporting and analysis of your cases to share that information, because we truly believe that it's an integrative approach that is going to truly end fibroids. That's our goal here. We're on a mission to end fibroids. And if you don't win the package, we still invite you to join along. You can get your kit. We always have it's on sale, 20% off right now, but you can get your kit, and make sure to follow us on the socials, and there'll be sessions where we'll have group sessions for you guys as well, because what we do know is these are tried and true practices. We do know we are very intentional. In fact, when we launched the fibroids program, because we have been doing work around hormonal imbalance focused with related to it, and it helped many women with fibroids, and that's how we got here. But then Dr. Amun and his research team really went deep into what specifically tackles fibroids, and now we added other resources and tools in our arsenal. And again, vitamin D therapy being a huge piece as well, because now we understand that many fibroids may not be related to specific estrogen dominance, but it may be more because of the vitamin D deficiency, as well as, of course, helping you with the stress, because that is always at the root. So I'm excited about that, Joyce. So don't lose this opportunity, y'all.
And fibroids, join the mission.
We haven't announced this outside of a conference I was at where I won an award this past weekend. So y'all got an exclusive. We haven't even put it on our socials. We haven't told our people. This is an exclusive for y'all right now.
We'd love to hear it. Congratulations on your award. Okay, if she's an award winner, you know it's another layer of verification. We can trust what she's saying. She's lived what she's saying, most importantly. So I want to pause and say welcome to those in the audience. Diane, I want you to know that we see you. Thank you so much for joining. Goldie, hi. Thank you for joining the conversation. Bettina, and also thank you for joining from St. Lucia, Joanna. This week we want to ask another question that she posed. She said from a Caribbean perspective, this is an interesting conversation. I'm going to kind of throw this out to anyone because it was something I was talking with a coworker about literally today. Diet. We've talked a lot about diet. Are there any studies that you are aware of that shows Black American women on this American diet experience fibroids at higher rates, larger fibroids different than Black women in diaspora, Black women in Africa? Let's get into it, Dr. Amun.
I mean, it's so funny you said that. We was having this conversation yesterday.
Wow.
The statistics that are out there for African American, specifically in the United States, are way, way higher than any other country around the world. Not to say that women in Africa are not suffering uterine fibroids. We have clients from Nigeria to Ghana, South Africa, all over. Okay, even within South America, Central America, the Caribbean, and parts of Europe. But the United States, or what we call the American Standard Diet, is atrocious. It's absolutely atrocious. And it's not healthy for anyone, but especially us as Black people. And it goes back again to where we are in our communities with food deserts. Okay, and what we have at our fingertips or our resources is poison. It's literally poison. Okay, so what this does now, it accelerates the chances and the conditions. It sets the stage that contributes to uterine fibroids. All this processed food, and I don't care whether you want to say it's Beyond Meat or Impossible Burger, and it's plants are toxic. If you want to say animals are toxic, so are plants. Okay, and if you do any research on the digestive system, it can take just as long to digest a plant as it can to digest a piece of meat. So that argument's out the window. We need to really take time, and like Coach Jesse said, even if it's just once a week, we start off once a week to have that one cooked meal correctly with the family. It's a step into the right direction, because our food plays a vital role. And it sets the stage for other things, for the other endocrine disruptors from inside the home, outside, what we're exposed to. And Black women, you know, they're like the foundation, right, for our nation.
Amen.
And they just,
let's put that on the screen,
you know,
please.
They are the foundation for our nation, right? And they're just exposed to the worst type of treatment, from cosmetics to detergent to deodorant to food exercise, emotion, abuse, professional abuse, racism, you name it. The Black woman has to face it. I've always said it. You see all these Black kids getting killed by cops, and it's hard, but that pain that that woman has to feel, and she can never get rid of it because she has no form of outlet, it sits inside. And this is going down another topic, but it still plays a role in how
integrated, because that even affects how we digest food. That affects the chemicals that we produce in our bodies, stress. We know that biologically affects and changes us on the inside. So all this to say is I appreciate that. And this isn't to discourage you. This is to say there are solutions.
Oh, absolutely.
Community. So feel empowered that despite what we face as Black women in this country, there are people who are invested in supporting you, growing community, making sure you have resources available to you so you can walk, live long, and be healthy and powerful in your narrative. Take control of your narrative. No one's writing it for you. So I want us to feel empowered in that. And Dr. Babineau, I want to talk to you about how healthcare professionals, including both traditional and holistic practitioners, can better support Black women in their journey towards holistic healing of fibroids.
Oh my goodness. The first thing I would like to say is what every healthcare professional can do, whether they're holistic or traditional allopathic medicine, the first thing you have to do is listen. Listen to what the person is saying to you. Even if you don't have the answer initially, even if they're not going to have a holistic approach, you need to listen, acknowledge that person, and take it seriously. And from there, I think a bond or a contract between the patient and the provider needs to be made or is made. And then together, you work to tackle the problem. So listening is number one. And that's what's really not happening in healthcare in general.
Listening. What's your perspective, Dr. Amun?
I totally agree. I think it piggybanks and overlaps some of the questions we had earlier on today. When you're sitting in front of your physician, whether the conventional, naturopathic, or functional doctor, they need to hear what's going on. They need to take that time to hear what's really going on. And they usually don't. They just want to get you in and out. They just really want to here's a prescription, bam, here's a estrogen pill, birth control, or here's a supplement. And it's fundamental that you take time to understand and get the full matrix of what's going on and what you're dealing with. Because like we said, and one of the things that we really dug deep, and Coach Jessie mentioned it earlier on, in this fibroid kit, the End Fibroid Manual, you will find that we did intensive research on several different causes or root causes where uterine fibroids, or the stage that could be set for uterine fibroids. And you'll be shocked. Everyone is like hormone imbalance, estrogen dominance, endocrine disruptors. But then when they see, vitamin D, high blood sugar, insulin resistance, genetics, stress, they're going to be like, wow, because this is what's affecting our bodies. The woman's body. This is what is affecting your body to set off. And believe me, we as men have another, we can go on to that with another chapter on how that affects us, because we can also become estrogen dominant. Estrogen is killing men as well. But it's something that we really do need to take time and listen. I do consultations all the time, and I'm telling you, I just keep quiet. I say, speak. I said, look, don't worry about the clock, just speak. And I'll tell you now, 80 to 85% of them women talking, they cry within the first 5-10 minutes.
Wow.
Literally just start crying. And they needed to get it out. And then now we can start the journey of your healing. So absolutely, we need to start listening more.
I appreciate that. This is preaching to me as someone who doesn't like to take up people's time. I'm very sensitive about time. This is your permission slip to take up space. If you are with a healthcare professional who you do not feel like is listening to you, you're not married or tied to them. And if you do not have the privilege to switch professionals right away, take up space anyways. Make sure things are recorded, follow up. But I'm telling myself, as someone who got checked for fibroids literally on Monday and whose doctor is like texting me responses, I'm telling myself, take up space. This is your permission slip. And Coach Jessie, we're going to get to some research, but I want you to share what you want to share.
Real quick, just to amplify that, I always say to our clients, when you are in a doctor's office, remember that there are two experts in the room. You are the expert on yourself, and the physician is the expert in their field. Both experts are necessary. Never let anyone and never stay with anyone who dismisses and doesn't respect your expertise. That's what the listening is. The listening is saying, okay, you're giving me vital information about yourself, right? And if I'm telling you something's wrong because I don't normally have this interaction or I don't normally have this response or reaction, that's something that you need to take that as vital information as my provider, right? And if you're not, if you look at Serena Williams, right? She was literally telling them, listen, I need this medication. She knew she had a history of blood clots, right? So we vote with our feet. If they're not listening, find another provider. And if they're not, that the other thing, this is why we wrote the book and Fibroids Manual and Guide. And Joyce, I'll be sending you a copy. The reason we wrote it is so that you now are armed with the information. When you read this book, we wrote the book that I wish I had when I was diagnosed, that I knew everything around the root causes, that I knew everything about all of the options that are available. Because guess what? When you come armed with that information, the women who are diagnosed with fibroids, many of them have to become research assistants because none of the information is in one place. And everybody who's read the book said, oh my God, this book literally has everything. Why? Because we want you to be equipped. We know you're not being listened to. We know you're being dismissed. We want you to be equipped so that you go in there and you say, what about this procedure? What about this? What about this? And if they don't know, it's time to find another doctor. If they're not talking to you about these things, they don't acknowledge it, they're not the right doctor. And again, we will help you find the right doctor. Please do not feel you are alone.
Powerful. And fibroids, there's a manual available to you, so you don't have to go through what literal pioneers have had to go through on this journey. And I really appreciate, Coach Jessie, what you said about being the expert of your own body. Have confidence in that expertise. We may circle back to some research studies, but I really want to move into this question about how we can create a supportive and inclusive community for Black women with fibroids, and where they can share their experiences, learn from each other. Joanna, this is what you were talking about, starting a group. How can they access resources related to holistic healing? Coach Jessie?
Yeah, I'm going to make it real quick. This is why we launched our End Fibroids program. This is why we have the free reset group in our Detox Living app. You know, just go to thedetoxnow.com, click on the Get Started button. Right on the Get Started button, it'll give you you'll take a 3-minute quiz, find out what resources are there. We have a community tab, a free community of people who are on this journey. That's what I said about this that I love. You're not alone. We've taken the hits. You're not alone. There's so much information. You don't have to start from ground zero. You can start from a ceiling and create a whole new level now. You know what I'm saying? Because we've been through it for you. Learn from us and build from all of our success so that you can have a completely different experience.
And you know, one of the things Coach Jessie said when she had it was a great IG live with the surgeon, the doctor, the OBGYN, and he was the fibroid slayer. But I had to say, we sit on the iron throne. The detail, we sit on the iron throne. When it comes to fibroids, from shrinking to dissolving them, we definitely sit on the iron throne.
Well, it's the women who are doing the work. We just help provide the resources and support.
We have the iron throne. We have the 7 kingdoms on lock. Trust me.
That's hilarious.
We've been doing it for years, and we have been seeing results. And we just want to keep growing and keep supporting and helping our Black women. Because like I said, you are the foundation of our nation.
Powerful. That's a Game of Thrones reference for those of y'all.
Yeah, right.
What kingdom? Just know that they know what they're talking about. That's the simplified version. But Dr. Babineau, what do you wish Black women knew about fibroids? If we can like just have like a parting wish, what would you wish to tell Black women?
Well, I would wish to tell Black women, and I do tell Black women, that number one, they're preventable. Number two, you don't have to accept that diagnosis with surgery, because that's where it usually ends. That's where it usually ends. Fibroids, surgery. They have to understand that diet is so important. You can change your total health with diet. They also need to be aware that what Coach Jessie mentioned is that if you start off with one doctor, they're not hearing you, move on and continue until you find that right person, because they are out there.
They are out there. 5 minutes left. Coach Jessie, I want to come back to you. Let's run down how people can get connected with you and help them feel empowered and encouraged if they're afraid about starting this journey of holistic healing.
Absolutely. So we like to say, wherever you are on your journey, whether it's to prevent them because you have crazy cycles, because your period should be very happy, okay, to you are in the place where you're fighting the fibroids, you know you've been diagnosed, to you've had a surgery and you're just afraid and you don't want them to come back and you don't want any complications and you're managing life. Whatever stage you're in, we are here to support you. We have support solutions for that at thedetoxnow.com. Really important for you to understand, thedetoxnow.com. So I would say start off with getting our free group consultation or taking the quiz, whichever you feel more comfortable with, and you'll get information that you can now take the next step. And wherever you are, there's always a free group consultation or free consultation option for you to support you. So that for me is the easiest thing for you to do, okay? So that you can know right away, you can get information, all right? And then if you aren't really battling it and you want to know, you want this End Fibroids bootcamp, please enter to win, because there are going to be 4 more winners. thedetoxnow.com/bootcamp. These things are valued at $4,000 plus each package. Okay. We're not talking about, a little here and there. This is a 3-month program to help you literally get a team, like the makeover team that would come in, or the big loser. They come in and it's like a SWAT team. You get a SWAT team to help you to really take authority over and get independence from those fibroids. I'm not gonna call them your fibroids, those fibroids. Okay.
Thedetoxnow.com. Don't walk, run. Resources abound for you. And there are free resources, which is really, really speaking to my pockets and my heart. I really appreciate that. Dr. Amoun, Mr. Herbal Supplements, or Herbal, as I say in the UK. I don't know why y'all pronounce the H. I don't like that. Tell us how they can get their hands on those supplements.
Oh, they can go to thedetoxnow.com. And they can follow us on the IG, Dr. Amoun_Neb, as well as Coach Jessie. But yeah, all the supplements that we have are at thedetoxnow.com.
Excellent. This has been a robust, encouraging, I literally have goosebumps. I'm going to look out for that manual. Encouraging conversation. Thank you to each of you, Dr. Babineau, Dr. Amoun, Coach Jessie. Thank you for those of you who sit on the throne, and thank you for those of you who are not gatekeepers, but making sure that this information is accessible. And most importantly, thank you to our viewers for this conversation. We have 2 more panels on exactly this. This is one part of the discussion. Stay tuned for more information. We've loved having you, and we'll see you very soon.